Om Shri Sai Ram. I was asked to talk about my experience with Swami, which is very difficult to put into words. I've been hearing about him from my friends and acquaintances in Moscow, in Russia, for some time. They kept coming to Puttaparthi, coming back, sharing experience, and I got more and more inspired. And each time I would tell, the sacred land of Bharata, India, is such a blessed land, and there is a saint in practically every village. I am happy that you have this book, and that was that. And at one point, I was invited to come to Guru Purnima celebrations in the Sri SATHYA Sai Organization Center in Moscow. And I thought, why not come? I took my child, who was a very small child at that moment. We dressed nicely and we came. And we were about a bit late, so we were asked to wait till the time there is a break, because there was the mantra chanting, the mantra part, and people didn't want to be disturbed. So we waited by the door for maybe 10 minutes, and then we walked in. And I was really astonished by the divine vibrations there. And I thought, whatever people do here, they are on the right path. Because I did feel the presence of God in any place where His divinity was manifested. And it's like the level of senses, not the level of the mind. You just feel it, the way you feel that the water is hot or cold. It had been a dancing club hall where they were renting this place. And I knew that this particular energy, the vibrations of this divinity, were manifested in a very short period of time while the mantras were chanted. Because it had not been there before, people had been just dancing. And then this particular group of people came and started singing those sacred mantras. I think it was Gayatri mantra and Sai Gayatri mantra. And immediately these vibrations appeared. I thought, well, they are on the right path. And then I heard some amazing stories shared during a short satsang that was there. And then we started singing bhajans. And then I was told there was a library there. Anyone could borrow a book for 2 weeks and then bring it back. There were lots and lots of books, Sai books that had been translated into Russian. And I thought what to choose. I asked, what do you advise me to read? And I was told, anything you like. And I chose the thinnest book, thinking that I was a very busy person. I thought this book, I'm sure to have time enough to read. 2 weeks, I will manage to read it in 2 weeks. Then I went somewhere by bus and got into a traffic jam, maybe a couple of days later. And while I was waiting in that traffic jam, not able to leave the bus or to go where I needed to go any other way, I read that book from beginning to end, and I was amazed. It was Narayana Gufa Ashram, the experience shared by a Swami devotee. And then I thought, if God really incarnated in a human body, and He's like Lord Krishna or Lord Rama, what am I doing in Moscow? What on earth am I doing in Moscow? How can I be in some other place and not see Him? I had been practicing Hatha Yoga before that, and I had been very much interested in Vedic culture, in the culture of sacred Bharata, and in Hindu religion. And I thought, well, had I lived in the times of Lord Krishna or Lord Rama, Would it not be a big mistake not to rush to where this god showed himself and get his darshan? What am I doing here? And then I started persuading my family that I would like to go to India to Puttaparthi together with my child. And my family was absolutely against my going, saying, you know, there are all kinds of infections, you could die, your child could catch something and die, or whatever. I said, well, it looks like a safe place from what I've been told. So finally, I persuaded them to let us go, and they agreed. I had been praying to Swami for 2 years for my family to let me go. So we came here with a group of Sai devotees from Moscow, and we were a large group, and it was 2000. And I was really, really very happy seeing Swami in his physical form. I saw several miracles. I saw how he stopped the rain. He had been giving a darshan inside Kulwant Hall, and then he was leaving. He was staying not in this newly built house, not in Yajur Mandir, but then he was staying in Purnachandra still. And I thought, I wondered what kind of an umbrella he had. I thought some Sevadalzo security ladies would run and open an umbrella, or some of the people following him. No, he came to the gate, he did like that, the rain stopped. He came to his house, he entered it, the rain stopped. I was just very happy seeing this miracle. I saw other things. And then we were about to leave, and I wanted to have an interview so much. I had been praying and praying for many days for him to take our group for the interview, but he wouldn't do it. And then it was the very last day, and the very last darshan before we left, the afternoon darshan. And our things hadn't been packed yet. I thought I would have enough time after the evening darshan, before the taxi, maybe a couple of hours or an hour and a half to pack my suitcase, no problem. Some of the things had been packed, but mostly not. And I came to his, to that little square, to that little kind of garden or whatever that had been in front of Purnachandra before Yajur Mandir was built, and there was a fence surrounding it, and I started praying, Baba, Baba, please, please, I would like to have an interview. So. And I didn't, when I was in the token line with my child, we didn't get the front rows, it was some bigger number, and I was not sitting close. I thought, no hope. And then he took a group of Russian-speaking people from St. Petersburg to the interview. And they knew that I spoke good English. I had translated for them when somebody needed something. And all of a sudden, they saw they had no interpreter, and they started waving to me, and one of my friends pushed me and said, go. I said, really? I stood up, I came there. I was from a different group, but Swami said nothing. He invited all of us to come. We were in his interview room. I sat not close to his chair, but other people sat in front of him. I was in one of the last rows. I thought, how on earth am I going to translate for him and for them? Then I had a terrible fit of fear that I would not understand his English. Because some people in India speak English with such a strong accent that people that from the West not often understand them. And I thought, what if he speaks with such an accent that I won't understand him? And then I started praying to him, please, please, Swami, may I understand any word that you utter, any, and translate it immediately into Russian. May the Russian text of what you are saying, the Russian translation, appear automatically in my brain, and I would just open my mouth and utter it. May I understand you, whatever you say, each word of yours, because it's very important to translate it very accurately. These are the words of God. There was also an Indian family sitting there beside us. And at first he spoke to them. I thought, wow, what a terrible accent. But all of a sudden I started understanding him. And I started simultaneously translating that into Russian. He spoke to the family, he spoke to the boy, he said no one was going to have any problems with either their work, or the child was going to have no problems at school and get some good education. He materialized Vibhuti for them. They went away with tears in their eyes, absolutely happy. And then he started speaking to the rest of us in very, very good English. And it was only then that I understood that I had been simultaneously translating him from Telugu into Russian, not knowing a single word in Telugu. No, no, yes, no, 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 thank you, or goodbye, or hello. It was my very first coming to Pedaparty. I thought, well, how can that be possible? But he looked at me many times, smiled and nodded. Yes, yes, you're saying everything correctly. I could have asked for more important things. And then I started translating whatever he was saying. And I'm very sorry that immediately after that interview, I didn't put everything down, because then years passed and I forgot many things. But many things I still remember because they touched me very deeply. He asked one of the ladies sitting there to show him her ring. She had bought it for 5 rupees outside. There were people selling all kinds of cheap jewelry in the street. They still do kind of wooden platforms with all kinds of brooches and clips, sari clips. There were also rings there. She took it off from her finger and passed it, and I held it in my hand while I was giving it to another person. He looked at it, said, "Which kind of metal is it? Brass?" Yes, it was kind of brass, and not. She said, "I don't know." He said, "Metal." And what are these? What is this embroidery made of? Glass? Everybody said, "Glass, glass." Did it cost 5 rupees? Yes, yes. Do you want to have a golden ring with precious stones, exactly of the same color and size? She said, "Yes, yes." He held it like that and blew on it and gave it back. And I also held it in my hand. It was a golden ring with precious stones. And there was another lady who loved music, and the Swami said, "And you love music?" She said, "Yes, yes." "Classical, Western music?" She said, "Yes." "You had been to a concert?" She said, "Yes." "And you liked this music?" And all of a sudden it started sounding in the air. Violins and the piano and everything. It had been a very big concert in St. Petersburg of a very, very famous musician. Very difficult. It had been very difficult for her to get tickets there. And we all started looking around. The sound seemed to come from nowhere, because just ordinary walls, painted like everywhere, and the stone floor on which we were sitting, and nothing. And then he did some other gesture with his hand, and the music stopped. And there were other things told by him. He said that such schools, and he showed Sai schools, would be in every village here. There would not be a single village in Bharata where such a school wouldn't exist. And in many, many towns and cities of the entire world. The education is going to be absolutely different in the whole world. And he said we would all witness. That means it would happen in our lifetime. That was a very important saying. And other things that really, really touched my heart. And when I went out, when I was going out, I had a big pack of photographs of my family and acquaintances, and I asked him, will you be so kind as to accept that? He said, with pleasure, and took all the photographs of all my family and my friends, for whom I had been praying, all that. And then, before going, he said a very important thing. I want to take you all to the interview tomorrow, and you will come to translate. Now, with all my experience and maturity and knowledge, I would fall at his feet and say thank you. And say goodbye to all the planes, trains, to all my work, even to my marriage. No, if he would say you will come to translate, there would be no other priority. But at that moment I was in a state of conflict. I was shocked. I was not that spiritually advanced, with not so much bhakti and understanding of things. I opened my mouth wide. I thought, well, he knows I'm leaving today. The taxi will come at 9:15 to our north building. And then, if we are late for the train, we are late for the plane, and the plane ticket is very expensive, it's non-refundable. And how do I get home? What would my husband say? What would my mother say? They would get worried. And I am so responsible. I am the only interpreter for our big Russian group. How will they do without an interpreter in case any problems arise? I cannot stay. My husband would make such a terrible scandal, because we were then to go on a holiday with him and his health wasn't good. I opened my mouth wide, my soul was crying, stay! But I said, Swami, we are leaving tonight. He just said, okay, then bring another interpreter. And that was that, the end of the interview. And when I came to my room, I couldn't pack my things. I would open my suitcase, I would push things inside, the zipper wouldn't close. I was just in a state of I was so overwhelmed. And then a big group of people came into my room with a kind of a camera. One of the men, who was a Russian man, said he was making kind of records of all the people who had interviews with Swami, to know what he said or did, to have it from first-hand experienced people. And I started sharing, and then my friend rushed in and said, don't you know the taxi would be in half an hour? You are letting everybody down. Out! Get out, all of you! She pushed everyone out. She tried to help me pack, but still we were late, the whole group was waiting. And then we started going to Dharmavaram, and we understood there was no way for us to catch a Karnataka Express train. We were being late because of me. And then, before that there was something. We lost the key from our room because we had our own lock on the door in our room in the north building, and we had to give it to the accommodation office. And we had no slip. We lost the slip that we had paid for all the days. And we knew without that we couldn't go. We might not be able to leave the ashram. We started looking for it everywhere. I couldn't find it. And then I did another crazy thing. I was dressed in a white Punjabi, absolutely clean. I fell down on the ground in the dust, right in front of N5 building, and cried, Swami, at the top of my voice, let us out! We swear that we'll come back and I'll be a good girl. I'll follow every word of yours. Please let us out. We're being late. Immediately the key and the slip were found. But still we were late. I started praying. When we arrived at the platform in Dharmavaram, we were told that the train was about 2 hours late. So we had to wait for maybe 45 minutes for it to arrive. My goodness, I would give everything on earth for me to have that other interview and to be there to translate. Nothing else matters. My husband died a few years later of a heart attack when I wasn't at home. Actually, it didn't really matter what he believed or said about Swami. Nothing else matters but Swami. And sometimes we get very, very important lessons in life. And Swami is a master of giving us very, very good lessons. Since then, by his grace, I had been coming. I didn't come in the year when my husband died, but then I started coming by his grace once or even twice a year. And when I was officially on pension, I could come practically at every time of the year, at every event, if I had enough money for the flight, to pay my plane ticket and other travel expenses, because life here is not that expensive. The most expensive thing are plane tickets. And by his grace, I always get some important spiritual experience here. I can never predict it. When I come here, I never know what's going to happen. Something very unexpected happens, and I feel his presence even when he is not in his physical form. Sometimes he used not to come at darshans physically, but I felt his presence, that he was still walking among us. And I have this very clear feeling now. And the most important contact for me with Swami is during the evening meditations in the inner temple or the bhajan hall. I don't know what's the official name for that. The most sacred place on earth for me. And I clearly feel his presence in the chair and him walking around. And I feel that he really works with everyone, uplifting us, giving us a feeling of his closeness and helping us establish connection with him from heart to heart. Whenever each of us comes here whenever we are there at his darshans, Samadhi darshans, and just during the Veda chanting, the bhajan chanting, and anywhere else. I feel his presence at home, in my home, on the non-physical level, when I pray to him and just when I'm by my family altar. And he is everywhere, and with all of us, if we open our hearts to him wherever we go, and it can make us very, very happy. I want to wish everyone who is listening to this record happiness, and to have such a close connection from heart to heart that could make all of us incredibly. And I keep praying for the golden age to come soon, for him to manifest himself in the physical form again, so that everyone could be uplifted and have another chance to establish this connection with him by his grace, so that there would be millions and millions of people in our SATHYA Sai family, and that the whole humanity would be here at his lotus feet. Whatever faith we are, wherever we live, whatever backgrounds we have. I am absolutely sure that each of his words uttered to us is going to come true. That means we are going to be the witnesses of the wonderful changes on earth. And I wish every one of you to live to these times. Thank you very much. Jai Sai Ram.